Oh man, what a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
It is. What are we going to talk about?
I don't know, I haven't played anything.
Hey Lonnie, how's that different than every other week?
I guess it's not. Oh, hey, wait a minute. Thank you, Sam. I've got an idea. Let's do something about roofs. I said roof.
That's a doggone good idea.
Oh, both you guys.
I like it. Let's do it. All right. Hello and welcome to Between the Studs. I'm Lonnie Norris and this is part of the Granite Ridge team, including Tony Reinke, our president. We're glad you've joined us today. Granite Ridge Builders is a custom builder serving northern Indiana, parts of southern Michigan, and also northwest Ohio. And each week on the show, we like to talk about new construction. Processes, trends, features, decorative ideas, all those many things that characterize today's new home. And today we're outside and Sam's given us an idea of what we can talk about, roofs and other things, right?
I think you really mean we're going to talking about exteriors of the home.
All right, well, at least we're outside.
We're outside. We're going to talk, Lonnie and I, we're going to talk a little bit about the architectural products of the way they
Okay.
are. We'll talk a little bit about roofs and slopes and things like that. And then I think Izzy's got a couple ideas for it.
Yeah, we'll talk about how to place a house on the lot to make sure you're making the most of your lot, as well as different type of roof styles, and yeah, it'll be fun.
Don't forget the decorating. Let's talk about colors and different things that go on the front of a house.
You know, Sam's given us some really good ideas. Thank you, Sam. But speaking of Sam, how about a hot dog? Let's go do it. Whoa!
Luke,
Come on, man.
Luke, you're a gourmet. Come on, do it right.
Lonnie, that Sam is brilliant. Our pet, our mascot dog Sam said that today we should go out and talk about roofs. We should go out and talk about exteriors. And we are in this beautiful area called Harbor Villas. Lonnie, tell us a little bit about where we're at.
I'm going to do that. By the way, Tony, I like your shirt, but on this bright day, it's a little hard for me to look at it.
Well, I'm trying to balance out your shirt.
We're going to talk about balance here in a moment, aren't we?
We are.
But to answer your question, we're out here in the Harbors, which is off of Wheelock Road, behind Chapman's Bridge, in a villa community. We have lots available out here. We have homes that are completed out here, ready to be lived in. Got to buy them first. We have models. A lot of exciting things out here in the Harbor Villa.
Right now in Harbor Villas, we have 5 different models that are available, 4 of which are staged. And all of these homes that are up and down this street here can really show really nice balance in the exterior. Now, when I'm talking about balance, Lonnie, what am I talking about?
Balance is one of those architectural terms that we try to abide by when we lay out homes. We do build custom homes, so it's up to the customer, but we try to help them in that area. And balance is basically taking the home and cutting it in half, drawing a line in half, and then looking at the 2 ends. And is one weightier than the other? We try to avoid that. We try to make them balanced.
So when I'm looking at it, I really picture teeter-totter.
Right, exactly.
If I put both homes on a teeter-totter, is it going to stay up there in the center area?
Right.
Or is one going to slide down
Right.
like I used to do to my little brother all the time and make him fall down? So when
Exactly.
we're talking about balance, we're talking about, do both sides look like
And that's
they're the
pleasing
same?
to the eye. And here's a good example with what we've done with the windows, with what we've done with the stone all the way across. If you cut this house in the middle there, this would be a pretty good example of balance.
Now this is a little more of a unique home that we do a lot of now, but it's actually that interior side load garage.
Right, right.
So when you're coming and you're looking straight onto the house, you actually don't see the garage at all.
Right, and it's something that a lot of people are looking for. You do have to be very concerned about how much distance you have from the garage doors to the end of the concrete in order to get your car out properly. But this works out really well. Typically need at least an 80-foot lot width-wise to make that happen.
Okay.
We have that here.
Now the one thing that I'm noticing when you're talking about that, because of the interior side load, we have a lot more stone on the
Right.
front of the house with that. But we have that nice plinth row of stone where the garage is. We have a nice plinth row of stone where this
Right.
window is. Then we have more stone in the center.
Right, it's something different in the center. So again, we think about balance. We've cut the house in half. Is it going to balance? And this one's a good example of balance.
Now, another thing that we look at when we're doing the exterior of these homes is not just balance, but it's also symmetry. How well does the house come together? And we do that a lot with the windows, don't we?
We do. Windows are a big part of symmetry. And again, here's a good example of windows placed in the right locations that give this home symmetry, kind of smooth appeal.
Now, another thing with this home is the dormer up top.
Right.
There's a couple different ways to do dormers. This is actually a gable dormer
Gable
that
dormer,
matches with
right.
everything else.
And we're talking about the roof. It's a gable dormer. The guys are going to talk a little later about gable and hip roofs, but gable dormer, and inside that dormer is a clear story window.
Clear story.
Right.
Clear story.
Clear story.
That's a term that I don't hear used that often. What do you
Yeah.
mean by a clear story window?
Right. Typically, we're talking about windows that are placed in areas where, other than a room. Like, for example, there's a den up in front, and the ceilings have been raised, and we've put a window up high in the den area, which provides natural light, perhaps even ventilation, and we would refer to that as a clear story window.
Now, we have other different styles of dormers, and they're right here in the villas at Harbors. And by the magic of TV, Lonnie and I are
Let's
going
go
to
look
pop
at one,
over there
yes.
right now.
Wham. We're here.
And here we are at another house, right here in the Harbor Villas. Now, this home, once again, we're talking about balance, cutting
Right.
it in half,
Right.
equal on both sides.
Cut it in half. Take a look at what we've done with the stone, what we've done with the windows, the garage, the gables, the elevation overall. And this is another good example, Tony, of balance on the front elevation of a home.
Well, the interesting thing about this home compared to the last home we were in front of is almost opposite. Because in the last home we did the plinth row on the sides, and then we did the full heavy stone right there in the center.
Right.
This time we have stone all the way up to the roof
Right.
on the sides, and then we did the nice stone on the actual columns for the front porch.
Right. And speaking of porches, a porch is a great tool to use to help a house have balance. And this is a particular style. We call it the Craftsman style, and we put a porch on there, and that is not a faux porch.
That is okay, I gotta ask, what is a faux porch?
Faux typically means false, not real. And a lot of times, if you get under 5 feet in depth, you can't use that porch. And we call
Okay.
that more of a faux porch. This porch is 5 foot. We recommend a minimum of 5 foot, 6 foot, or 7 foot as far as width if you want to sit there on a chair and enjoy that front porch. We've done that here.
Kind of like what Grandma used to do all the time. Bring the lemonade out, sit on the front porch, kind of watch the world go by.
Right. And speaking of faux, we also look up here at a shed dormer.
Okay, so the last house we had the gable dormer.
Right, the gable.
Or more like this. In this house, we have more of the shed
The
where
shed
it comes down.
lends itself to that Craftsman style very, very well. And again, that is a faux dormer.
Okay, so it's a real dormer. It's there, so how is it fake?
I should say the windows are faux in that the
Okay.
windows actually open up into the attic. But from the road, it gives you the idea that this house has a second story. In fact, I had a lot of people say, how do you get to the second story? Well, it'd have to be through the garage, the pull-down attic, because that's all you got here. But the windows provide some light upstairs, perhaps some, perhaps ventilation if we would have put a operable window up there. But they're faux windows.
So with the clear dormer, it's actually coming into the house in the finished space, where the faux dormer window, it just is basically going into the attic.
In this case, that's how it is.
But
yes.
it does add a lot to the curb appeal of the home.
It does. This is a really pretty home. Again, Craftsman style. I think the girls are going to talk a little bit more about style and some of the components, but that's a lot of information.
And you know what? If
that
you
we
want to
enjoy.
see either of the two houses we were just showing today, they are open each and every Sunday, and that means today from 1 until 4. If you go down Wheelock Road, just turn into Chapman's Bridge, take it all the way to the back for Harbor Villas. We actually have 5 different models that are open out here each and every Sunday. Please come out and say hi to us.
And also, if you want to take a look at balance and symmetry, real specifically, you can look down this street. We have a lot of houses out here that are good examples of symmetry and balance as it comes to architectural principles on a home.
This is a really beautiful drive, isn't it?
It is. Let's go fishing.
Let's go fishing.
Let's
We're
go
going to go fishing.
So Izzy, we're out here at 2 of our Granite Ridge construction sites. Now these things are still under construction. We got a lot of work to do, but they're starting to look really, really good. Now we wanted to start with the exteriors where it all begins. The dirt, the lot itself.
It's one of the things that we think is very important with Granite Ridge, and it's something that we provide a free service for you to make sure you start off with the right lot. Whether that's in the country or in addition, a member of our Granite Ridge team will come out there to walk a lot with you to make sure that you've got a good thing to purchase. You're not going to get stuck with a lot that's unbuildable.
Right, and you mentioned it. It doesn't have to be a lot they already own. It could be a lot that they're potentially looking at buying. And by having us come out here, because we deal with it every single day, we deal with the challenges that certain lots present, and it may swing them to buy that lot or maybe look elsewhere. So I've walked hundreds of lots, and every one of them are different. And the reason we want to walk them is because we mentioned it in the beginning, you can either fight a lot all the way through, or you can use the lot to your advantage. And by maybe tweaking, maybe you're out in the country. A lot of people think that house needs to be squared up with the road. Not always the case. Maybe you want to tweak it one way, take advantage of a view that, you didn't think that, you could look out while you're eating breakfast, look out your nook door and see a beautiful view of a ravine or a pond. This house, for example, typically in Fort Wayne, you want to drive up to the front door first, then see the garage. We decided to flip this house because there's a pond right back here. Well, the pond ends one lot before this house. So by flipping that, it gave them a better view of the pond. That's just one example of why you really want to get out and walk these lots. And we've done it for years. We're experts at it. And like you mentioned, it's free. We'll go out for free and look at these lots with the potential homeowner and see if it's something that they want to, invest in.
And there's two things we'll bring out there quite often. One of them is a chair, and another is a ladder. What we're going to try to do is to actually help you understand what view are you going to have from the windows in your house. So if you look at a chair flat on the ground, you might think, wow, this is my view. But really, once we get done with that house, it's actually going to be built up a little bit. That's why we bring a ladder, to actually help you see what you're going to see from the inside of your house. And that'll have a lot to do with the placement of those windows. We talked about with lake lots. A lot of times people are going to put the windows a lot lower to the ground so that you have a lower view. And I was confused by that. But why do they do that on a lake lot?
Yeah, it's a perfect example. Most lake lots are a challenge to work with, but done right, they can work out beautifully. And one of the reasons that we drop those windows a lot of time on the lake lots is because you think about most of the time lake lots are elevated. And if you don't drop those windows, when you're sitting in your great room and you look out, you can't even see your own dock. You can't see your shoreline. So you can't see if your kid's down there playing on the dock when they shouldn't be. So it just enhances that view. Having those windows in the back. And again, that's part of where maybe looking at tweaking it. Maybe you can enhance your view a little bit better and get a bit longer shot of the lake versus maybe looking at a channel. So
yeah, it's something I would have never thought about. Again, that's an advantage of having a Granite Ridge representative out there with you when you're walking a lot. We're there to help make sure that we make the most of every view that you can have possible. And we talked about doing the garages, so that might change the placement according to the lot. What are some other factors that might be affected by the lay of the lot?
Well, you mentioned we bring the chair and the ladder. We also bring out a laser. It can be very deceiving. You can look across the lot and it may look like it's a perfectly flat lot. But once we get that laser, the laser helps us, takes our eyes out of the equation. Our eyes can deceive us. The laser, on the other hand, will tell us exactly from one side of that lot to the other side of the lot how much fall we have. And maybe you have a basement. Maybe you want to put the basement on the low side of the lot and the garage on the high side so you don't have as much, dirt to build up. Like we got a huge pile of dirt back there. We have that pile of dirt because there are times where the lot needs, built up maybe 8 inches or more, maybe 3 foot, and we need to compact that in. So that's just another variable that could throw, maybe you're looking at that, it could throw it over your budget if it's got too much fall from one end to the other.
We work very hard from the very beginning to make sure that we know exactly what kind of costs are going to be associated with that lot. So having someone come out there and price these kind of things and lay an eye on that and know exactly what to anticipate is very helpful.
Yes, it is. So let's move up from the lot. What do we have next?
Well, we've talked about some windows. We've also talked a little bit already today about the difference between the types of roofs.
Yeah, Lonnie and Tony talked about the hip versus gable. We have both examples right behind us. On our right side here, we have what's called a gable roof, and that's where you can see the siding goes up and kind of creates more of a pyramid look. On the left side here, we have the hip roof. Now, what are some advantages, disadvantages of each?
Well, we talked a little bit about that if you have a gable roof, it does make it appear a little bit taller. And then if it's a pitch roof, it gives it a little bit more of a horizontal look, a little bit more kind of even with the land around it.
Right.
Those are the two that come to mind for me.
Yeah, and out in the country, you typically more see the gable roofs because you don't have a bunch of houses in a row.
Yeah.
So it kind of helps it, just pull it from the land itself, raises out from the land. Now, down in Florida, what do you normally see?
A lot of things a lot lower to the ground and things that have a little bit less wind resistance.
Right, so they do the hip roof down in Florida. They hardly ever do a gable roof because of the hurricanes. It's more aerodynamic with the hip roof.
And we do a couple different kinds of shingles on those roofs as well. I know we've got one that's a kind of a newer product that we're pretty excited about. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's called the Patriot shingle. Now, some of you have probably heard a 3-tab shingle. This is what we're calling it, a 1-tab shingle. So these behind us are architectural shingles, so they have some dimension to them, whereas the 3-tab are usually pretty flat. Now the Patriot is flat, but they've done some things with some shadow lines, so when you're actually standing at the curb, it mimics an architectural shingle. So it's very but it's more at the price of that 3-tab shingle. But it also, we mentioned wind resistance, it's got the same warranty as far as it's 110 mile per hour wind resistance, same as the architectural shingle. So it outperforms the 25 or 30 year shingle that you're used to seeing maybe in the Lowe's catalog. So,
all right. So right behind us here, we have two great examples of a couple different things that we like to point out as well. Just being out here on the site, what can you tell us about the two behind us here, Luke?
well, obviously we got two different types of material. We got brick on the one side and stone on the other side. Now, with the brick, it gives you more of a uniform look. You know, nice straight lines, this carries right through. The stone, on the other hand, can give you some variance. So really, it's personal preference, depending on what style you might be looking for. One may be better than the other.
Is there one that costs more than the other?
Traditionally, stone costs a little bit more than brick.
Okay.
Yep. The other thing we want to point out, we got two different types of gables here. On the right side here with the stone, we have a box gable.
Okay.
So that's just, we're talking about right there in the corner where the eave comes out. And I think Tony's going to talk about eaves a little bit later. On this side, we have a cornice return gable. And that's where that little section of roof returns in towards the window.
And tell us about the gutters here as well.
Yeah, one of the things when we're setting up a house and we're meeting out there and we're talking to the gutter guys, the easiest way to run a gutter is usually the worst way. It really jumps out at you. It might be right up against the brick. It just doesn't look good. As you can see here, we were able to get both of these gutters towards the side. Another thing you want to consider with gutters is, now our standard is 5-inch, but sometimes when you get into those higher slope roofs or maybe a larger home, you really need to start thinking about, okay, this should be a 6-inch gutter, you know, allowing for all that water to come off the roof and then run out, you know, away from the foundation.
So the more roof, the larger the gutter might.
Yeah, the more roof or the slope of the roof can play a factor into
Okay.
needing to raise that, because the water flow is going to come down a lot quicker. So,
Okay.
yep, just things we think about while we're out there looking at every house individually and trying to make everything work as a system.
Okay, girls, this segment, what they wanted us to talk about was exterior materials and exterior colors. So I thought we could start with exterior colors. Elizabeth, I heard that an exterior color can make your house either look longer or maybe even shorter depending on what that color is. So what would that mean?
That is true. Your color selection is very important. So a lighter color will make your home look larger, and a darker color can make it look smaller, similar to what paint can do to the interior of a room. You also want to keep in mind your setting. If you're on a lake, there's certain colors that really look good with the water, so the blues and the grays will really accent your home. Maybe if you're in a wooded setting, you may want to choose a lighter color so it can pop, or some of the more natural tones because you're in a natural wooded setting.
So I probably wouldn't want a green or a brown because I wouldn't even see my house in the woods.
That could be the case.
That's why we need your guys' ideas. Thank you.
Very true. And speaking of color, we have a lot of colors that are really popular right now that we're really going into those dark siding colors. As you can see here, we have some dark blues and reds and grays and browns, which is really nice. And a lot of people like to accent that with white or cream trim. So we have a lot of contrasting colors on the outside of our homes right now. The other thing that people have to decide with the siding is what style. As you can see on this house here, we have Dutch lap and we also have bevel. You can see as a sample there. Both of those will really change the look of the house depending on what style you go with.
And I know one thing to keep in mind, if you're building in a subdivision, they do have architectural control. So when you pick out your selections, the Architectural Control Committee will want to look at them. So if you're dead set on something maybe like an orange, just be prepared that they may not go for that.
And that is a great color, maybe more as accents and shade colors. Might be a little much to do as a whole house, but you could definitely try something like that at a lake or different kinds of settings.
These are great ideas to make yourself stand out, but you also want to consider that you do want to appeal to the masses. So someday, if you're thinking about selling, maybe you're only going to live in your home 5 or 7 years, you may want to choose something that's appealing to the mass public.
So material does make a difference. Now, Kayla, you have decorated probably over 100 homes just this year in the first 4 months, right?
Definitely.
Okay, what are you seeing on material for the front facade? Example, are you seeing more brick? Are you seeing more stone? A combination?
I'm definitely seeing a lot more stone now, manufactured stone. It's a little bit less expensive than real stone, so you get a lot more variety as well. We can do different styles in any color that they have, so it's a really popular one, especially for the Craftsman style. This home that we have here, that's a cut cobblestone, but you can do this color in so many different styles to really appeal what looks best for your elevation of your home. The other one that's popular, still, you can't go wrong with brick. It's timeless, traditional. I would say stone is more popular right now, but brick is a great choice and definitely going to stand the test of time.
Okay, now Elizabeth, here's the trick that you were teaching me just a few minutes ago. A lot of people don't understand the color of mortar. Could you explain that? And I know at our studio, if they want to, Kayla, they can come out and talk to you. We've got a section where you can show what you're talking about on this mortar color. Explain that.
Mortar is so important. Actually, 20% of what you see is the mortar. So a lot of times you'll drive by a house and see a brick that you like, and people come in and choose that brick. Well, when it goes up on the house, it looks different, and that is because of the mortar color. So this is very, very important.
And as you can see here, we also have a sample that this is our standard installation type for mortar, but there are a lot of others. There's grapevine and there's weeping mortar, all that can be a little bit more expensive, maybe 35 cents, 50 cents a square foot, so not a whole lot, but it does change the look and something to definitely discuss as you're designing your home.
Now, also, you taught me the window color
Yes.
can either make or break a home. Now, I'm going to let a little secret out that nobody knows, but Andersen Windows, of course, we've been promoting for a very, very long time. I heard, and I'm going to let a secret out, they've got a new color that is actually standard.
They
Which is
do.
what?
Black.
Oh,
Wow.
everybody wants the black right now, don't they?
They do. Everybody wants black. The latest one that they had come out with last year was the bronze, which is behind Elizabeth there, and it's a really dark brown, great color, but people were still just wanting that extra richness of black, and they finally came out with it. It'll be here in a couple of months, so we're really excited about
Okay,
it.
I want maroon. Is
Okay.
that still a possibility?
It is. We actually have it now. It's a little bit more expensive right now, but I would say probably within a year they're going to make that standard too.
So you can make a whole house look completely different with any one of these just window colors.
Yes.
Okay, what about trim colors like you have here? This is a composite material. You can paint this any color you want.
Yes.
Would you blend it with the siding? Do you like to accent the color? And the corner post would be obviously the same question.
It really depends on the application. So many different houses, we take a look at it as a whole. That's probably one of the last items that we discuss with the outside colors to really tie it all together. So Craftsman look, when you're wanting more contrast, I would definitely say trim it out lighter or an accenting color. A little bit more of a traditional look, I would say you probably want to match the siding color and have it blend, or even match the window color. It makes your window look a lot larger.
Now, I know on this home we have vinyl siding, but what's common in some subdivisions is the hardy plank, which is a natural material. Can you explain what that is and why it's used?
The hardy plank is a fiber cement board, and it's still considered a natural siding, and some subdivisions require that they have an all-natural front, so we'll use the fiber cement on the front. Now, most times people will paint that, and you can paint it any color. They do have some product that come out pre-painted, which really helps in the maintenance. It might add about $1 a square foot or so, but it's a huge plus to not have the maintenance with that.
So really, when you see that product, it's because it's a subdivision requirement.
Yes.
Now, there's one other popular trend that we see a lot, and that's the shakes, the vinyl shakes.
Yes. What I'm really excited about is we actually have weathered shakes right now, and it makes it just look a little bit more natural. Instead of just one solid color, you have a little bit of variance in it, and it really makes a statement and a difference. And shake color is great. A lot of people like to do the dark colors for the shake. It really accents the home and brings in a little bit of a different element.
And what would that cost, maybe on a typical gable or different parts of the front of a home?
I mean, you could be upwards of $900 to really probably $3,000, depending on how much shake you have. But really, not anything that takes away from the rest of the house.
Pretty reasonable.
Definitely.
I think these are amazing tips, and obviously we have got a plethora of different types of ideas and tips for you that we can help you with your material, the placement as you've seen today in the show. Now, before we close the show, Elizabeth, I want to do one thing. I've got a Granite Ridge tip that I'd like to show people on the siding, because vinyl siding, Kayla, is how wide again?
We have anywhere from 4 to 5 inches.
4 to 5 inches, and these are panels that they put together.
Yes.
Well, there's a little bit of a seam and a crease. I'd like to have Elizabeth help me, and I'll show you a little quick tip before we close. So, Kayla, you get ready to close the show,
'Kay.
and I'll meet you in a few minutes.
Wonderful.
Elizabeth, here's a Granite Ridge tip. Obviously, vinyl siding is put on in panels. Now, we're looking at this, and you cannot see any seams. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Why?
When they install it so all of the seams are at the back. So when you're walking up to your front porch or walking along the side of your home, you don't see them from that direction.
So placement is absolutely important. So when people come up to my front door like they are now, we don't want to see them. Now watch
Right.
this.
Watch this.
Let's do this. Okay, Elizabeth, why can I see the seams now?
Well, you're from the other direction. You're
Okay.
walking out of your home.
So you always want the seams on the back side so you don't see them when you visually come up to something.
That's
Now,
correct.
there's also another problem that people might want to watch for on vinyl siding, and that's what?
That is oil canning or telegraphing. You may see siding waving,
Okay.
and there's two reasons for that. Either it's the installation, whoever installed it may have installed it too tight, so it doesn't have any room for movement.
You don't want to nail that too tight. You want to leave a gap, right? So it will actually move, because vinyl will shrink
Right.
and move.
Shrink or expand. Another reason could be the quality of the siding. Our thickness is a .042. The darker colors may be a .044. So the thickness of the siding is another factor.
So make sure you always go with a .42. Never get into the .37s or you might have that problem. Good tip.
You know, Sam thinks the show was a little rough, but I thought it was okay. I kind of enjoyed it. rough, whatever.
Well, if you want to know where we are and why we've been here and where we're go, what does Joe say?
I think he says if you want to know a little bit more about who we, what we do, it has a lot of W's in it. But I'll tell you what, if you want to know more, just call the number at the bottom of the screen. Our web address is there at GraniteRidgeBuilders.com. But I think Lonnie ought to try it one more time to get it right.
If you want to know who we are and how we how we did it, and I know who's on first, give us a call.
Let's just eat our hot dog.
I'll have a hot dog. I'd rather have a hot
We got
dog.
that great show. This was fun.
It is a dog day of summer.
A doggone good time. out
Doggone
here, I'll tell you.
It's a dog eat dog world.
Doggone good way to end the day.
It is. The show has not gone to the dogs country or what everybody thinks. Don't talk about the competition. There's people moving around in there, by the way. Yeah. Yeah.
We're getting ready to go.
That's us right there. Yeah. We did some fishing over here.
Can we talk about fishing again? We decided we want to go fishing again today.
Fishing? I want to go swimming.
No, I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Hey, Lonnie, I want to become the president of Sam's Fan Club. You did such a great job today. Where should we send all the fan mail to?
How about at info@graniteridgebuilders.com? Make it happen.